Peart. For Fitzroy, 5 to Quinlan. Steve McPherson reported on a striking charge. Robert Walls will probably be the subject of a complaint from the umpires. Footy bet, Game 3, Selection 13, paid $11.65. Incidentally, on the previous game,
had to pull every trick in the football manual to get home by 1 kick. That's 5 points against a very strong and fast finishing Fitzroy. And Footscray will stop at nothing to win a game. They're a very professional unit this year. They'll tackle strongly, they'll waste time, they'll fall on players, make it very difficult for them to get up. And I think this professionalism came out to make them an ultimate winner in today's strong match. Just coincidentally, Fitzroy fired up after a very dismal 3 quarters after that Robert Walls incident, and I can tell you what happened. He took Michael Nettlefold across to where the umpires were standing a little away from the camps of the football teams and had words. Nettleford, I believe, had nothing to do with it, but umpire Ian Robinson was very vocal in his report back to Robert Walls, so I guess we'll hear something about that. But it did wonders for Fitzroy. They came on very, very strongly. But Footscray were the side. They got the ball out of the middle repeatedly and consistently. They got good backups there from Foster, and also Brad Hardy is an unusual type of player, the way he handles that ball. Brilliant, such balance, etc. Some wonderful duels. None better than on the wing between Doug Hawkins and Turner. Hawkins with 10 kicks and 11 marks, a sensational performance, and a very professional man and a very close-knit and needed person in that Footscray team.
They're trailing by 3 points, so a goal, of course, gets them in front again. Ruckerick's good. Here's Connor. Oh, Royal with more dash. Nicely picked up. From the back flank. Up to Hawkins on the wing. Should be allowed that. It was a juggling mark.
Geoff, that centre line's a magnificent one, the Hawkins and Wallace, but they seem to break down a bit across that half-forward line, Footscray. They're probably struggling a little there.
Funny thing today, though, Doug, they swung Neil Peart there, and he played very well and kicked 2 valuable goals in that second quarter, very strong, and beat Paul Roos, which is a feat in its own. But interesting in the centre bounce, Doug Hawkins takes the centre position. Perhaps, as Tim said, he's got more strength than Wallace, and then Wallace plays in the wing, and they switch. But Wallace today, I think the day suited he and the Budgie and Hawkins because it was wet, but they're such great ball handlers, and Steve Wallace today was one of a winning centre line.
Turner's kick up to the wing, but it's all Footscray there. Steve Wallace sidesteps, wins it, turns the tide to Edmund, and that was nice play from Wallace.
Geoff, you mentioned the name there. There was some criticism about Footscray bringing him straight in after he crossed over from Richmond. That's Peart.
Well, he came in, Doug, didn't he, when he started and played his first game against Eston, I believe, and was a very strong player. But today, when we saw him last week on the back line, today at centre half forward, very strong, and he's a very big mark and very, very strong and thick in his upper body. He was a key player for them and beat Roos, as I mentioned before, certainly for the first half.
Nayland. Rod McPherson, back to the centre line. Peart! Oh, splendid mark. Great effort from an impossible position.
Well, Geoff, you like the big fellas, and Fitzroy have done a lot better since their big fellas come back into the side.
Yes, he's made his mark, hasn't he, Rendell, in his last couple of weeks. A superb game from him today. 20 kicks in the wets, and he had something like 9 marks again. More field play than Footscray's Purser, but Purser did a better work in the ruck than Rendell.
He's got that necessary element in his play. Tons of fire. Kicks from the back line out of the outer wing. Oh, great mark, Rendell. He got up with that long frame of his, a telling mark. Fitzroy need goals. Footscray poured it on in this second.
Well, just a comment in summary, Geoff. Footscray, second position on the ladder. Fitzroy well below them. Is that a worrying result, just a 5-point victory?
It certainly would be, but let's not detract from Fitzroy's performance today. They're going to pose a big problem and be narcs in the last 3 games because they play Carlton, North Melbourne and Geelong, and will give them a hard time, even though Fitzroy don't have any chance of the finals this year.
Well, into the dressing rooms, and this morning's Age carried a story suggesting that young Fitzroy star Paul Roos was being pursued by Carlton. It was announced at Fitzroy's luncheon today that Roos has just signed on for 2 more years with Fitzroy. And after today's match, Roos told me that he was happy to be a Lion.
Very happy. I've got no intention of going elsewhere. I'm very happy with the club at the moment.
Fitzroy, Footscray and frigging Carlton. Well, let's wrap it up for the day. The footy quad, and for 2, 9, 6 and 3, the dividend was $319.55. A match to come in the round, but the ladder tells us plenty